Morning, Fractal Effects team. We're still tracking the market from the early session, so if you're just joining us, make sure you read the disclaimer in the description of the YouTube channel, also in the footer section of fractaleffects.com. If you're following along with us today, make sure you're doing a demo account, as this is for educational purposes only. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. So today is Thursday. We're 2 minutes away from possibly getting a bullish confirmation. So you got a bit of a mixed bag here. Double break to the downside. Now US 500 did hit its weekly range, the top of it. We have just regular breaks for NAS and US 30. This is the first presented fair value gap. So with the fact that we have not tapped it yet, and we might be getting a bullish confirmation. If we get that bullish confirmation, this is where it will most likely come back to. And then we'll see what happens here if it sets us up to give us that push up. US 500, I'm not interested because we have a double break to the downside. And again, if we get this bullish confirmation, then that means these are two conflicting strategies. Yeah, US 30 right there, first presented fair value gap. NAS first presented fair value gap after the break. They were never tapped. And even for US 500, the fact that we have a double break, I'd want to see rejection here to let me know that these two actually want to go up. Because this is the first presented fair value gap after the double break. So US 30 just confirmed. We got a bullish confirmation. We did not get one out of NAS. US 500 is the only one that has not only a double break, but a triangle pattern. So we got a double break with a break to the upside. So in order for all of these to go up, I'd want to see rejection right here for US 500. So just patiently waiting. We did not get that bullish confirmation yet. So everything will be decided right here. US 500, first presented fair value gap. This is where it will be decided because you have a double break to the downside, whereas with NAS you have a break on either side, and with US 30 you only have a break to the downside. First presented fair value gap was never tapped. It just left a string of fair value gaps. It has not let us in. These are all footholds, but there was no entry. So when that happens and you get a double break on one of these pairs, it lets me know that everything is going to be decided right here. Whether or not all three of these drop or all three of these go up will be right here. US 500, first presented fair value gap. Process of elimination. Get used to pattern recognition. I'm sure most of you have taken the SATs. You get a selection of 3-4 images. Which one of these does not belong? That's why we watch all three of these. But US 500 is the pair that's going to let us know what's going to happen today, right here. This is where it's going to be decided. Are we going to punch through this, or are we going to reject here? Since we already have a double break, we already have a bias to the downside. But US 500 has also swept out Asia lows and tapped the top of the weekly range. Remember, Thursday's footprint, it takes us back to the weekly range. So both US 30, right there, that aqua line, US 30 has touched its weekly range, and US 500 has touched the top of its weekly range, which I believe is somewhere in here. If I remove all of this stuff. There it is, sorry. That aqua line right above this yellow. That's the top of the weekly range. So the fact that these two have already touched that means that US 30 might not have to. But still waiting for US 500 to come back into this zone. And at the same time, it'll bring NAS back into this fair value gap. So if we get that rejection here and we get that entry, targets will obviously be, since we're at all-time highs, targets will just be the high, all-time high, etc. Targets to the downside will be the 4-hour fair value gaps that are under all of these. This one here, this purple box here. But let's see what happens here. Patiently waiting. We are green across the board on NAS, and we have a bearish shift on the 5-minute for US 500 and US 30. If NAS gives us a bullish confirmation or a double break to the upside, that will at least give us more confluence, but I still want to see what happens here. "20 minutes to 11, more than enough time. "3 minutes left in this candle. I want to see if it leaves this fair value gap open or if we get a double break. If it leaves this open, it could use that as a foothold to take us all the way back down here. And then we'll use this as an inverse to see if it wants to climb back up. The fact that we have a double break here, we could get a deep, deep retracement. So this is the most interesting zone right now. US 500, first presented fair value gap right here. Just patiently waiting. Or we had FOMC yesterday, markets shifted. They repriced. Usually they use FOMC as a smokescreen to reprice the market, so they repriced it. I believe we hit the daily fair value gap and bounced back up. So that was a bullish sign. But we got to take this candle by candle. $42 seconds left in this candle. Looks like we're going to leave this fair value gap open. Just painting it out for now. Still got to wait. Let's change that color. Remember, pick colors you recognize immediately. 2, 1. So there's your fair value gap. We're coming up against the 50 and the 20 EMA. We don't have a crossover yet here on US 500. We do have the cross on these. No, actually, US 30 has not crossed over either. Right there on the 5. As I said, this is where I'm interested. This will let me know what I want to see. Which one of these pairs is telling the truth? So right at the DST high and low, they're right on top of each other. We have not hit any fair value gap here yet, and we have not touched the 20. So this is the first fair value gap that it's drawn to, and the 20 EMA. NAS tapping this fair value gap. Remember, we do have a break to the upside. This break took us all the way up. This break could bring us all the way back down. That's why we're proceeding with caution. Right now, this is the only one that has a double break. Remember, I can't do anything with US 500. I can only use it as confluence now because it's got a double break to the downside. Double break to the downside, break to the upside. If anything else, the confluence here is still bearish. All I can use this is to see if it's going to push past here or not. If we reject here, then most likely the other two indices will bounce off that and push up as well. And if that happens, then we're going to get what's called a 2 dB. That's double breaks in both directions, so that will void US 500 altogether. There's a lot of manipulation happening here today. This will have you believe, the double break will have you believe that it wants to push down. These breaks right here and here will have you believe that the market wants to push up. There's your first presented fair value gap, first presented fair value gap, first presented fair value gap. This is the only area I'm interested in looking. That's how the market translator helps you whittle down your options. Helps you define key zones, not just any zone, not just any fair value gap. The important ones, the ones that you need to look at. There's a lot of math, a lot of computation happening on the back end of this. This is not a time lagging indicator. This is a real-time market translator. It's translating the algorithm that's controlling the markets. US 30, almost back at the first presented fair value gap. Believe it or not, US 30 is the one that's telling the most consistent story now. We have a break to the downside, clean break, first presented fair value gap, bullish confirmation, retracement. This could be the one that's actually telling the most consistent and accurate story. Here comes NAS. Back into this fair value gap, hopefully back to the 20 EMA. US 500 pushing back down to that first presented fair value gap as mentioned. Let's see what happens in this zone. Are we going to punch past or are we going to reject off of it? Looks like US 30 will be the first one to enter that zone though. What I want to see on the 5M time frame is an immediate rebalance. Expansion met with expansion in this zone, in this zone, in this zone. I want to see it punch in and then give me an engulfing candle up. Then I'll drop down to the 1M time frame and look for a fair value gap entry. But this is the most important part right here. US 500 will decide what these two want to do. Remember, both of these strategies are 80% accurate. Now, if you layer them on top of each other, you got a lot of confluence, a lot of probability, high probability. That's why we use them in confluence with each other. As soon as you get this bullish confirmation from the spotlight strategy, this triangle, that means there's an 80% chance that the bottom of this range will not be broken. But when you get a double break to the downside, there's an 80% chance that the market's going to retrace and then push back down in this direction to take out this low. We got one of each on different indices here. So we got to wait till they slowly start matching up. But that's why we're focused here. US 500 first presented fair value gap. This is where the market will decide what to do. Here it comes. Whether or not all three of these go up will be decided right here. US 500. We're looking at the CFD contract, but it doesn't matter if you trade futures, Forex, precious metals. It's the same strategy. US 30 is the first one to enter its first presented fair value gap. Again, I want to see an immediate rebalance from all three of these if we're going up. If US 500 cuts right through this like butter and creates another fair value gap, then they're all most likely going down. US 30 is the only one that has a spotlight confirmation. And US 500 is the only one that has a double break to the downside. Remember, today is Thursday. Thursday's footprint brings us back to the weekly range. Where's the weekly range? It's painted out by the spotlight indicator. It's these aqua lines right here. There's the top of it, there's the bottom of it. Now, NAS is the only one that has not hit its weekly range yet. US 500 did. The top of it is right there inside this yellow line. And US 30 did. It's easier to see. It's right there. So we've hit the top of the weekly range. That's all it really needs to tap. It doesn't have to come back into the full range itself. It just has to hit it. So if both of these have hit it, then this could still be a rejection to the upside. But let's see. I want to see what happens right here. Still waiting. Nothing interesting as of yet. This is what prevents us from getting FOMO. This is what prevents us from sitting there in a nail biter. I refuse to make a move until something happens here. And until it's entered this zone, until this has entered this zone, doesn't really matter. Anything outside of that is either a runaway market or a consolidating market. Neither one of those is any importance to us. We stick to our rules. That's what makes us 80% accurate. That's what makes us profitable. 95% of traders fail because they don't stick to the rules. Every single point of confluence has to be met. Here comes US 500. Anybody who tells you this is buying and selling pressure doesn't understand how the market works. Here's a fair value gap right here. There's a couple of fair value gaps here. There's one. There's one. So why didn't the market turn around there? Because these are highly algorithmic zones that the market is drawn to and pushes from. Algorithmic, referring to an algorithm. And the market translator translates this information for you. Easy to see, color-coded. Paint by colors for some of our friends that find it hard to understand all this stuff. And it can be. Trading can be mind-numbing. Concept goes over most people's heads, but if I tell you, wait for these signals, look for this color, if I explain it to your 6-year-old, and again, I'm not trying to be condescending, it's just the reality of it. People's attention spans do drop off. People want to learn something as quickly as possible nowadays, and this is the way we've set this up for you. You can learn this entire strategy in 30 days. These two strategies, I should say. 30 days, you could be trading like a pro. And as long as you stick to the rules, you'll be good. So US 30, again, is in that first presented fair value gap. Still waiting for US 500 to decide what it wants to do. Three seconds left in this candle. We're right at 11 o'clock. Just going to zoom in here. And make sure your zones are painted accurately. So technically we did tap it. US 30. Just tapped it. Let's see if this next candle, we got 3 minutes 39 seconds left. I want to see if this is an engulfing candle. US 30. Looks like it might be digging in a little deeper. Let's see. Gotta wait for these candles to close. 1 minute 52 seconds. 27 minutes left in our stream. Look at US 30. Look what it's doing. Digging in even deeper. Right now, US 30 is the only one that I'm actually interested in, but I want to see what US 500 does. "45 seconds left. "25 seconds. That is not an engulfing candle. I'm waiting for US 30. When US 30 gives me that engulfing candle, if US 30 gives me that engulfing candle, then at least there's something there that's interesting. Finally digging in a little deeper here, US 500. We've already taken out these lows. I want to see a double break to the upside from NAS, then a proper retracement after we get a confirmation. Look at US 30. Still early, still got 3 minutes, but that looks like a proper engulfing candle. Expansion met with expansion. Let's see if it sticks. US 30 still pushing down. So unless NAS gives us a double break and a confirmation to the upside, I'm not interested. As it stands, US 30 is the only one that's telling us the most consistent story, but that could change. Clean break, bullish confirmation, first presented fair value gap. Let's see if we get that rejection. If it cuts through here, and if NAS has a tough time getting past this fair value gap, then they could all be dropping. If NAS gives us a double break to the upside with a bullish confirmation, then we'll get a small retracement and a push up. Since we're at all-time highs, we got to proceed with caution, just looking for a 1 to 3. We'll turn on our standard deviations here. We'll also take a POC from here to here, just to show you where most orders. So most people went in long here. So this has already taken out their position. They went in long right here. Market went up, took out that position, so it could still be pushing up here. Right now what I'd like to see is I'd like to see NAS give us a double break and then US 30 give us a setup to go long, and I'll take US 30 all the way to the high. Still like US 30 more than either of these right now. But if US 500 cuts through here, NAS can't get past this fair value gap, and they could all be pushing down. I can't sell US 30 right now. The only one I could technically take is US 500. Just gonna get rid of this. So still waiting, still watching. Either US 500 is going to reject this or push through this. But as I mentioned before, this is where majority of the decision will be made. US 500, first presented fair value gap. Let's see if it rejects it or pushes through. I still want to see I want to see it hit the consequence encroachment and give us a proper displacement up. And at the same time, don't worry about this, by the way. People that are watching NAS slowly creep up, that's fine. After we get a bullish confirmation and a double break, there'll be a retracement anyways. It'll be better. It'll be cleaner. Otherwise, the only other option is it could run away from us. That's fine too. Remember, capital preservation is our first primary goal, then making money. But as soon as we get a bullish confirmation, we actually get more confluence, letting us know what the market wants to do. And if anything else, once we get that bullish confirmation, I'm going to take US 30. I'm not even going to take NAS. US 30 has more room to grow from its first presented fair value gap to its high, and more confluence. So let NAS run and let it get to this point. That's fine. This has not told me anything yet. So I want to see a rejection here, and I want to see an engulfing candle on US 30. So if NAS gives us that double break and bullish confirmation, good. That's just more confluence for us. There's always going to be a trade setup. Don't get scared. People that get FOMO, they think this is it, the be all end all. If it reaches this and it pushes past this because we're already at all-time highs, I missed my opportunity for the day. No, you forgot that these three indices are going to be moving together. So if you didn't catch this, here's another train that's coming. Here's another train that's coming. Stay patient. And what's the other thing that could happen? They could all just drop from here because we already have a double break here on US 500. Today is Thursday. Thursday does take us to the weekly range, which is down here. A lot of things could happen. And they can happen within literally a couple of pips. You think something's going to confirm, so you jump in immediately, trying to eke out maybe a few pips with a jacked up lot size. You think to yourself, I'll take the lot size up to like 50 or 100 or 2-3 handles and just try to catch a couple of points. It's the dumbest way to look at it. If you don't have a 1 to 3 risk to reward setup, you're wasting your time. And if you jump in before confirmation, everything can reverse on you last minute. Look at this. US 30 is digging in even deeper. US 500. When I said everything's going to be decided here, do you think I just made that up? How did I know that the market was going to come all the way back here? Because this is an algorithm. Plain and simple. It's doing something. It's telling you something. And the market translator is translating that information for us. Still looking at these two. I cannot buy US 500. I can only use it as confluence. I can buy US 30. I cannot sell it yet. And NAS, as mentioned before, if it gives us that double break confirmation to the upside, that's just more confluence for me to look at US 30. Because right now, NAS is telling us a mixed story. It's got a break to the downside, which means the market wants to push up, and it's got a clean break to the upside, which tells me that the market wants to push down. Where does it want to push down into? First presented fair value gap, right into this zone. But unless I get a double break from either side, NAS isn't really any help to us right now. It's telling us literally, so this is the funny part. We got all bullish signals on US 30, all bearish signals on US 500, and NAS is sitting in the middle, not confirming either or yet. It's close. It could give us a double break here, but until it does, it's of no use to us. Process of elimination. This is how we know exactly which asset to trade. Which asset should we be concentrating on? Which one has the most room to grow? Which one has given us the most confluence? And right now it's US 30. Here we go. This could be our engulfing candle. So if NAS gives us that double break, I'm looking for the first fair value gap right here. I'm just going to go on US 500 and see if we've actually left any 1 minute fair value gap. There it is. 3 minutes left. Let's make that red. Here's our bullish confirmation slowly. Let's see if it sticks. Two minutes, 23 seconds left. That's the first presented fair value gap on the 1M. It's getting interesting now. Let's see if we can get this trade set up though in the next 13 minutes. That's when our window of opportunity closes. 1 minute, 50 seconds left. I want to see this bullish confirmation stick. I want to see the market come back into this zone right here on US 30. A little bit higher and we'll get that bullish confirmation and the double break. That's the dealer revealing their hand. Can't do anything with US 500. That's just part of our rules. One minute left. A little bit higher. $12 seconds. We'll definitely get a bullish confirmation. Let's see if we get that double break though. There's our bullish confirmation. There's our double break. So what happens after a double break and a bullish confirmation? We get a retracement. Since we've already hit the 20 EMA, it will most likely tap whatever fair value gap is left here. And for US 30, I want to see it touch one of these fair value gaps to give us an entry. So remember, I cannot sell NAS. I cannot buy US 500. I'm going to bring this one back up to the 5M. But I want to see US 30 tap a fair value gap. Hopefully this one down here. But US 30 is the one that I'm interested in. Let's see what that 1 to 3 looks like. So my low would be there. High would be the top. Let's see what kind of an entry we get. It's got to tap one of these fair value gaps for me to be interested. Remember, we want to see the same setup on the 1 minute. I want to see it hit a fair value gap and give me expansion met with expansion, an engulfing candle. I'm hoping it's all the way down here. further it comes, the better it is. One minute, 17 seconds left. At the same time, this is the fair value gap that we were waiting for NAS. Let's see if it stays open. .44 seconds left. Six minutes left in our stream. So that fair value gap was left open on NAS. Let's just see if we can paint it properly. So as soon as we get rejection off of this, all of these could be moving up. No longer interested in this. So this is our last candle. We'll be concluding our session after this. So I'm going to leave you guys with some homework. This is where we hope to find some rejection, a 5M fair value gap, and a push up. US 30, I'd want to see it close over here. And if it does, I'll most likely push up all the way to the high that we've outlined here. 3 minutes, 14 seconds left. You want to see a proper rejection off of this fair value gap. We don't want to see a cut through in any way. Expansion met with expansion. That's what you want to see in this area. US 500 has already kind of done what it needed to do and tell us what it needed to tell us. I'm still not interested in this. US 30 is the only one that I'm interested in. Today is Thursday, so we'll be live again next week. Over the weekend, make sure you back test. Go over your entire trades, your journals. Hopefully you're journaling after and at the end of each session. What was the trade you took? What was the asset? Where'd you get in? What did you do right? What did you do wrong? Analyze it at the end of the week. So if you're going to stick with this, that's pretty much what we're looking for. Expansion met with expansion, respecting this fair value gap. Now, this is punching through, but the next one could punch back up. Again, expansion met with expansion, and that could still count as a respect. And then same thing here. It could drop as low as this first presented fair value gap, but what you want to see is a closure over here, and then a push up. So that's our time. Please check us out on fractaleffects.com, where we teach high probability trading. Please hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you know when we're live. We're live Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 10:30 Eastern Standard. We'll wait for this candle to close. Seconds left. Now the other option, we'll say, just throw this out there, is if this disrespects this candle, this fair value gap altogether and creates a 5M bearish fair value gap, then you could be getting a deeper retracement back into this zone before it pushes up. That's why we wait though for all the confluence to be met. And at the same time, it could push US 30 deep into this area. So that's our time. Check to see if that next candle is an engulfing candle or if it leaves this bearish fair value gap open. This one right here with this candle. 1, 2, 3. All right, guys, have a good rest of the weekend.